Today, we are taking you on a wonderful private boutique wine tour that we did out of Zagreb. We visited the Plezavica wine region and in particular one of the most famous wineries in Croatia, Jagonic Winery. The views down over the rolling hills covered in vineyards with small churches and stone houses perched on the hillsides were incredible. The mountains were lush and green and made the perfect backdrop for our day trip. We tell you about the wine regions, what wines you should try, and also about a little town we visited that is the entrepreneurial capital of Croatia and is famous for its cakes, but also making the fastest electric cars in the world. Stay listening to the end when we tell you all about our guides, how they made the rest of our Croatian trip even better, but also how you can plan the perfect Croatian adventure that caters for just you and the things you want to see and do. We wish we had known about this service before we left Australia. Please enjoy episode 110, and if you want to see the Croatian travel website we talk about or all the pictures we took of our luxury wine tour, then click the link in the podcast player you are listening on now. Hello, everybody, and hello, Lyle.
Buenos dias.
Welcome back to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. This is episode 110. Now, today we are going a little bit off our normal format because we are the Beach Travel Wine Podcast, and this podcast is going to start about the wine and we'll get to the travel at the end. How's that sound?
Sure.
Yeah, like a good plan. Now, one of the reasons when we booked a holiday to Croatia, one of the things we wanted to do was go to some places where we could try some of the local wine because we knew that Croatia has a really long history in making wine and making really nice wine. And we found out a little bit about that when we were in New Zealand. A lot of their wines started from Croatian vines, didn't they?
That's
ago?
correct,
yeah.
Especially in Hawke's Bay.
Yes. So we were really keen to go and see some wine regions.
And apart from the fact that we don't mind a nice glass of wine.
Yeah, of course. So one of the things I did when I was planning our trip is there's lots of community Facebook groups and that sort of stuff where you can ask questions, right? And so I put some questions to the people who, obviously know Croatia, been to Croatia, where should we go? And got lots of great information back from that. But the one that stood out was a lady called Tiana, and she gave me some really good information. And it turns out that Tiana actually has a boutique travel agency and they specialise in some day trips from Zagreb, which is where we did our wine tour from. She gave me lots of information and we decided we would do the day trip with them to this wine region that we're going to tell you about. Okay, does that sound like a good place to start?
Yep.
Yeah. So the company is called TNT Boutique Tours. Yes.
Boutique Travel,
sorry. And TNT stands for Tiana and Tom. Now, we did this day trip out of Zagreb. Episode 109 was all about what to do when you're in Zagreb. And so this was a day trip that we did with them, and it was just a private tour that we did, and it was very special. So will we start with, they picked us up from our front door?
Yeah, Tom and Tiana picked us up at the front door. Straight away, we felt comfortable with them.
Oh, they were great, weren't
Tom
they?
was funny,
Yeah.
and Tiana was absolutely lovely. And so we got in the car, we felt welcome.
We felt very, very welcome, very bonded because Tiana has a soft spot for Australia too. She spent a bit of time in Australia and obviously loves, working with Australians because we're so, laid back and fun to be with. And
so the first place we headed to was a little place called Samobor.
And it's not that far, is it?
No, it's only 23k from Zagreb.
But on the way, you get all the information, don't you? You're driving through the city and, Tiana and Tom just have so much wealth of information because they're locals, obviously. And, you see buildings all the time and you think, oh, that's nice. And then they actually tell you what it is and
what the history.
The significance of it, sure. Yeah. So it was a nice, pleasant drive to Samobor.
That's correct, Leanne. Okay, so there's about 37,500 people in Samobor. It's quite a wealthy area.
Well, according to Tiana and Tom, it is the entrepreneurial capital of Croatia.
Yep. In fact, Rimac Nevada, which is the fastest electric car in the world, and that has 1,914 horsepower, can get from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 1.85 seconds. can get to 186 miles per hour in just 11.8 seconds. That all started in Zagreb.
And it's and they have a factory and they're still making them there today.
Yeah, but I think that's expanded, but because they make other cars.
Okay.
The name of the company is Rimac Automobile.
Okay.
So, and look, they've made 150 of these fast electric cars, but at this stage they've sold 50.
But it's also full of little shops and things. And we did go on a Sunday, so just beware that Croatia have some laws in place where you can't open your shops every Sunday, and there wasn't a lot open. But
yeah, we were actually supposed to go to Crystal Sambora.
Yeah,
which
wow,
is,
that sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're world renowned for their crystal.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this particular Sunday we went, that factory was closed.
But
I have looked on the on some of the reviews, and they just say it's unbelievable. And when you do a bit of research into the actual Samboro crystal, it is world renowned.
But we chose to go on the Sunday, so we knew that was the case. But Sunday was the day that suited us. But what we did do was sit in Tomislav Square.
Yeah, King Tomislav Square. He was the first king of Croatia.
All these little restaurants and cafes, and we had a lovely coffee and a kremnica.
This is going to get me. Okay, it's famous for Samoboraska kremnica.
Yeah, kremnica, exactly.
Yeah, which is really glorified
French vanilla slice.
French vanilla slice. That's what they are. So there's 2 layers of puff pastry, custard cream filling topped with custard and powdered sugar.
I was just going to share one, and Tiana's like, no, you'll want to eat the whole thing, and she was correct.
Yeah. So and during that, us having the coffee and cake there, we found out more about Tom and Tiana's personal history, the business history, and I know that Tiana spent a lot of time in Spain, so she's done a lot of travel. And
they've been travel guides for a long time too.
Yeah, I think 15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they were really willing to share and talk.
You had a lovely chat with Tom because he's right into the Croatian history.
Yeah, the history, which is what I love, and he was very generous with his time, and really gave me quite a different perspective on what happened in that part of the world over the years.
So that was really nice. Like, lovely drive. We're sitting there chatting. It's like friends, like instantly, weren't we? That's what made it really nice. Some of these day trips you do, you're on a big bus or even a small bus, and you're with people you don't know, and that's okay too. But this way we were able to ask questions in relation to what we were interested in, and they were asking us where we'd been and what we'd seen and where we were going, and just the information that they continued to give us was great. I love that.
Yeah, and I think the other side of it too, because Lan and I have had business in the hospitality industry, which obviously tourism is part of that, we were able to understand some of the different perspectives that Tom and Tiana have, and understand some of the difficulties and
some of the fun stories too.
Yeah, and absolutely the fun stories.
So talking about fun stories, we could have sat there and chatted for a while, but it was time to move on because they'd made a booking at a vineyard, a winery, for us. So we hopped back into the gorgeous van, and I sat in the front with Tom because I want to take some photos and videos as we drove up. So it is one of the prettiest drives you'll do from this little town up to where the wineries are, the tasting rooms. It is winding, but it's not too bad. And there's some little authentic houses along the way with little creeks running in front of them, little babbling brooks, and the lush. I couldn't get over how green it was, just the vegetation on the way up. Like, and just going through little towns with the little churches perched on the side of the hills and everything.
And I think the only reason you could concentrate on that was because Tom was driving so slowly and and at the same time explaining the history. So Tom was actually really good.
But I didn't know that it was going to be so beautiful. I thought we were just going to go for a drive to a winery, taste some really nice wine. But this was an added bonus.
Well, I'm sure that you remember you actually made the comment about Tuscany.
Yes.
Yeah, how similar you felt that it looked to Tuscany. So
well, there are those pencil pines, I think, that are synonymous with the Tuscan wine region.
So basically, it was a full day wine tour. Now, where the winery is, or where Plesvica
yes,
is only 65 kilometres from Zagreb. It's situated within the larger upland wine region. There's 4 main wine regions, 16 sub-regions, and 66 appellations. And the appellations provide legal protection and quality assurance for wines produced within defined geographical areas. Each of the 4 wine regions is located in a different corner of Croatia.
So which ones are they?
The 4 main regions are Istria,
which we went to, yeah.
And Dalmatia,
right,
Danube, and the uplands.
Okay.
Now, the uplands are where we are.
Yes.
Uplands are known for their abundance of red wines such as Pinot Noir, Blair, Portuguesa, let me say that again, Portuguesa, as well as white wines like Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, Rhine Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, and Chardonnay. Uplands wine region is picture-perfect wine country with rolling vineyards and castles perched on high hills. The steep mountain slopes are planted with vines that lead down the valleys past historic churches and houses. The soil and climate are perfect for growing grapes, providing the perfect environment for making wine. They are affordable but high quality. Plesvica has a climate with an average temperature of 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. Warm summers but cold winters. Plesvica wine region is situated on the south side of the Vignani Hills near the Cetina River. The vines are mostly planted on the south-facing slopes.
So Plesvica is part of the uplands. Yes.
There's 4 different sub-regions.
Okay, in the uplands.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
In wine production, there are 3 types of grapes used. There's the Vranac, locally known as Plesvica, and the Terrain. Now, they're mainly red. The Plesvica wine region has more than 1,200 hectares of vineyards. You'll find 120 wineries that average about 1.5 million bottles every year. It's renowned for producing some of Croatia's finest sparkling and orange wine. The calcareous soil in the region is very similar to that in Champagne and favours sparkling wine production. Now, the winery that we went to, the owner really emphasised the fact that how similar the soils were to Champagne in France. Now, where we went to the actual winery, come on, Leanne.
It's the Jaganic winery.
The Jaganic winery.
Yes.
The winery is one of the first wine estates of the Plesvica region which began to bottle, and the first bottles with their own label and with geographical indication.
You told me that they also were awarded one of the best wines in Croatia.
Yeah. Their credentials are amazing.
So we pull up at the Jaganic winery, and first thing you see is this giant bottle of wine, like not a real bottle, at the front. So we immediately hop out and jump in front of the bottle of wine and start mucking around and get Tiana to take some photos of us. But then, obviously, because Tom and Tiana know the owner of this famous winery, it's one of the most popular day trips not just day trips for tourists, but locals go to this winery because it's so well known from Zagreb. And we go over and we get a table. But on the way over, I have to stop because the views, you're coming up high because we've been through all the windy roads, but the views down over that valley was exactly as you said. It was the rolling hills just full of vineyards, and where there weren't vineyards, there were beautiful green trees. And then up the other side of the valley were, as you said, there were little churches perched on the hill and little stone buildings. It was absolutely stunning. I was like blown away. I had no idea it was going to be so
that's
beautiful.
when you did say, this reminds me of Tuscany.
Well, I think I said, Tuscany, eat your heart out, check this out, or something like that.
Yeah, that was probably it. Yeah.
But
now the Unuchik I didn't say that right, did I?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The
Sorry.
wine. It's actually their family name.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. The Jaganich.
Jaganich. Yeah, that's their family name. The winery is one of the first. The current 6 varieties are grown in 8 locations.
Right.
Wines are aged in wooden barrels and terracotta. The winery is dedicated to sparkling wines made using traditional methods: orange, amber wines, and white wines.
So they don't make anything else except the sparkling and the orange.
Yeah. Well, some of the amazing grape varieties cultivated in the vineyard include Red Traminer, Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir, Riesling, Chardonnay, and Muller Thurgn.
We met the owner of the Jaganich winery, and he told us that because of the conditions, they concentrate mostly on the sparkling whites. Now, it was divine, this wine. It was so crisp, and I loved it. I loved the wine.
Well, I actually thought it was, look, it was great wine, but I thought it was quite dry.
Yeah, but I mean, as it wasn't strong. A lot of champagne I find too strong to taste. This was light, is what I'm trying to say. And you're sitting down on this beautiful terrace overlooking the mountains, drinking wine that was made right there, and the wine is divine. It was a really special moment. I loved that. And then you, as I said, talking to the owner, and then Tiana and Tom telling you about the wine region as well. And then obviously we had the sparkling, and then we had a sparkling rosé as well.
Yeah, and then they also had. He was very, very. What's the word? He was very enthusiastic about his orange wine as well. Now, the orange wine is how they develop the orange wine. Is they leave the skin contact when they're fermenting it, and that gives off that orange colour. So we've only just found out about orange wine when you went down to Bangalore. But here it's more of a tradition. And the owner was very, very enthusiastic about his orange wine and basically had an attitude regarding sparkling. His champagne, well, I don't think you can call it champagne, but I think they do. He was very, very enthusiastic about that. Well, and rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. But also as part of our day, see, basically the tour, when you do the tour, it's wine tasting. It's unlimited wine. It's not just a couple of little tastings. You want another glass of that. Let's get a bottle of this. We probably not overindulge, but you just get caught up in the moment, don't you?
I actually said to Tom that I was sort of getting embarrassed that we were getting so much wine, and I said, "Look, can I buy you a glass?" That's how generous they were with the wine.
Then we had some food as well, like the biggest platter of local cheeses and meats. My favourite hamon, like the ham, and just beautiful.
And what was that cheese? Cream cheese. Yeah. There was a lot of that, and like the actual platter itself was ridiculously big.
And we didn't just have one. Like Tom was like, "Oh, I think we'll get some more food."
Yeah, that's right.
He was making sure we had enough to eat and drink, and be merry, which we certainly were. I think with the tour, you sometimes go to a couple of wineries, but we elected just to stay at this one because it was a Sunday, as I said, and they had live music. And so we decided that was a nice thing to do, was to stay and listen to the music. So that was nice.
The first song we heard was the Teddy Swim song.
Yeah.
So we
Tennessee whiskey, right? Here we go.
Yeah. So we were at home straight away.
Yeah.
So we had the food there, and Tom took me to where the cellar was, and then took me upstairs to the restaurant. And the restaurant basically only opens, I think, on the weekends, and other than that, you have to book, like you have to ring through. And
but if you're on a tour, you don't have to do any of that. You have your tour guides organise it, which is the benefit of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, and we sort of got there probably about 12 o'clock, I suppose. No, we were there for probably a good 2 hours. And the place just filled up with locals and listening to the music, and it was a really cool atmosphere. I thought, like it was, and
well, the atmosphere, the views, the food, the wine, the company, couldn't fault any of it.
Yeah, and in this particular tour that we did, that you normally go to two
I said
wines.
that.
Yeah. And
but we'd elected to do the one, as I said.
And at the second winery, you normally get a 3-course meal.
Yeah, if you want to.
So I don't know how you do that.
Fit that in as well. Well, maybe you don't get two platters like we had.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
But it was a highlight, and it was a lot. It was more than I expected, to be honest. So I haven't said it, but I should have said it earlier. Go to Beach Travel Wine, episode 110, and you can get there by, the podcast player you're listening on now, there's a link to that webpage, and there you will see what I'm talking about. I've got a photo of the orange wine looking down over the valley. There's photos of the food, of the views, just of everything we did that day. I've got photos there, so it's really worth going to check that out.
Yeah, the views are, if you do take the opportunity to have a look, the views will knock your socks off.
Yeah.
They are that good.
And then so what Tom did, because he couldn't drink because he was driving, he took us another way home, so we were seeing different things. So that was really nice too. And we, weaved our way back down through the vineyards and the stone buildings and the churches and everything back down to drop us right at the front door at Zagreb. And, this time we had hugs goodbye and, promised to stay in touch, which we did, because we still had a fair bit of travelling to do in Croatia. And Tiana asked us, where we were going, and she sent me information, nearly every day on where we were, and suggestions on restaurants, suggestions on day trips, some suggestions on guides, and suggestions on, wine to try in the area. Even if you didn't want to go to a winery, this is the wine if you're going to a restaurant to try. So for no reason other than she just loves sharing her information of Croatia, that was just amazing to me.
Yes, she was so helpful. And it's funny, we use travel agents in Australia, but there was a huge difference to get the information from Tiana and Tom because they live there.
Yeah.
Whether it be private transfers, whether it be restaurants. For me personally, I was blown away with that local information.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? So what we found out during our day was they don't just do day trips from Zagreb. I mean, they also do some walking tours, some pretty unique private tours, walking tours through Zagreb. So I'm going to put a link to their website and as much of the stuff as I can, because, as I said, we were just so happy that they were so helpful. But they actually have a whole Croatia travel agency themselves, which we found out. And their website is to die for.
The photos.
Yeah, it is just pitch in the videos. It's picture perfect. So what they can do is they have tours that they've already got planned tours.
They've got multi-day tours.
Right. Or they will do a boutique itinerary just for you, based on your age, your likes, your physical capability, etc., etc. And that, to me, if I was going to come back to Croatia, I wouldn't hesitate to do that, because even using a travel agent from Australia, they haven't been to all the places, and they don't know all the information. So
you can't expect them to.
No, of course not. But I just now feel that Tiana and Tom were so helpful that that they would do the best itinerary with you in mind.
Well, I'm going to cheat here.
Yes.
I took it straight off their website.
Oh.
They specialise in customised vacation and travel consultancy. Also act as boutique charter agents for yachts and villas in Croatia. Now, Tom, that's how he met Tiana. He was a captain on a sailing boat.
Oh, that's right.
So that's how they met. So they specialise in that. Their clients,
because everyone wants to come to Croatia. Not everyone, but a lot of people want to do like the Sail Croatia thing, and you just go to that name's synonymous. But if you want to get someone who knows which boat to go on, how many people, where it goes, get a bit more information, they have that information, don't they?
Their clients are sophisticated travel lovers who use their services for anything complicated and specialised.
And it's not budget, is what we're saying.
No, it's definitely not budget.
But it's wow.
For the last 15 years, they have been touring their beautiful Croatia and neighbouring Slovenia. So they do a lot of work out of Slovenia too.
Yep.
And so they do that. Their tours feature nature, culture, historical sites, as well as great food and wine.
Yeah, because they love their food and wine like we
okay.
do.
Now they're multi-day tours. They've got the premium North Croatia, which is 7 days and 6 nights. That's Zagreb, Plivici National Park,
That's a must-see.
Pula, Ravin, Modovan, and the Island Kirk. We've done most of those and highly recommend them all. Best of Split and Dubrovnik. And that's a 7 day and 6 nights.
But a lot of people try and plan these themselves, and I get in these forums, people are saying, what's the best things to do in Dubrovnik? Where should I stay? How can I get from Dubrovnik to Split? What should I go to the islands? They're asking all these questions. People are struggling to get their itineraries and get their timing right, whereas doing something like this, you don't need that.
Yeah, it's all in. That's one package.
Yeah.
Istria.
Oh yeah.
Absolute wine trails.
Oh.
7 days, 6 nights. Again, Grozan, one of your favourite spots. Groznan, sorry.
Yeah, that was great.
Pula Roman Amphitheatre, sunrise at Plivice Lakes. Just amazing. Taste of Croatia, again, Plivice Lake, Zadar, which we went to, Split, and
what's
Dubrovnik.
the longest one they do? It's like a 8 day something, isn't it?
10 days, 9 nights. The Adriatic Sense. It's on their website.
Yeah, and I will put the website in the. Actually, I'll put it in the show notes for this episode. So go and have a look. I mean, check out my pictures, but go and check out theirs.
Well, there's. I mean, a lot of the tours do have the same places in, but they've just added bits and pieces. And that particular 10-day one, they do a trip from Split to Var, and then there's a day in Var. Well, there's 2 days in Var, and I've got to tell you, I loved Var. I did. Yeah. I thought it was for the rich and famous. Unfortunately, we weren't rich or famous.
No, but we got to walk along the yachts and have a look at the bar.
And now what they also on their website they have their services and they create your itinerary considering your lifestyle, age, preference, and past travel experiences. They recommend your accommodation, whether it be yacht, villa, or hotel. Arrange transportation options, a chauffeur-driven tour, transfer or day trip. Arrange for a variety of cultural activities and day trips. Organise the finest private expert guides. They propose restaurants in the areas you'll be visiting to make your stay even more memorable. And they remain in touch and be there for you through the journey, ensuring there are no hiccups.
Right. Okay. That sounds like a really nice service.
And look, to be honest,
and they did that for us, even though all we did was a wine trip with them.
Yeah. I highly recommend these guys, Tom and Tiana. I thought they were fabulous, and I think if we could find people like them in for our next trip in another country that just have that insight into their country, you'd have to go with them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it makes sense for sure. But let's bring it back to the wine because that's how we started this whole podcast and wanting to visit wine regions. And this was for sure far exceeded my expectations. And I loved the day trip. I love the wine, and it just is a real addition to a trip to Zagreb.
Absolutely.
It was a highlight, wasn't it?
Yep, definitely a highlight. Loved it. I 100% agree with you.
All right, this is a stupid question. Where was your favourite place to have a glass of wine?
Everywhere. No, well, obviously the winery.
Yeah. And which was your favourite? Was it the sparkling rosé? Was it the champagne, or was it the orange wine?
I'm going to go to sparkling rosé. To be honest, I really enjoyed that.
Well, I agree, but I liked the sparkling white. Yeah, that was my favourite.
Which was the first.
Yeah, it was just yeah.
So you had that at the start and at the finish because Tom kept on going and getting. Do you want another glass of champagne? And then another bottle would come out. But the hospitality.
We felt very spoilt.
That's the hospitality.
So thanks, Tom and Tiana. So as I said, thank you to them. And if you want to find out more about getting someone to help you with a day trip or some tours around Croatia, then go to the podcast player you're listening on now. Click the link to episode 110. It'll be the only link there. and I'll have all that set out on our webpage. So it'll be a link to their website as well. So and you'll see all the pictures that I took on the day, and you'll see us mucking around having a fun time. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
And okay, stay listening, because episode 111, OMG, don't you say anything. It's going to blow your socks off. Hey.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking, what can I say? And I thought, no, you better shut up. Leanne will slap me around.
I don't like you giving away our secret. So until next week, it's adios.
Adios, amigos.